Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Toast, and to open up the week, we actually got a very welcome surprise from Xbox. One of their best studios just expanded in a major way, and there is some curiosity as to what their plans are in the future with this expansion. But technically, yes, they have a brand new studio under their belt now. So we're going to dive into all of that today, as well as the future of virtual reality, because apparently PlayStation has something interesting going on as well. So do make sure to stay tuned for all of that. But before we get started, do make sure to hit that subscribe button. About 50% of you all are still currently not subscribed, and if you like this type of content, or if you like list type of videos, I like to drop those during the weekends. And I have plenty planned for the coming months, so make sure to hit those buttons. That way you'll be one of the first notified as soon as I drop a new video. Now, with that said, let's just go and have some fun. Starting off with a brand new controller that I absolutely need for my collection. I think a lot of you all probably know I love the Astro Bot series. I think these are some of the best platformers of all time, and even though some of you are going to laugh at me, I would not be surprised if the new Astro Bot is a Game of the Year candidate. I'm not saying that it will be the Game of the Year, but I wouldn't be shocked if it is a Game of the Year candidate, similar to how Psychonauts 2 was a Game of the Year contender the year that it launched. That's all I've been saying. But nonetheless, I, as well as you all, will get an opportunity to get a limited edition Astro Bot PlayStation 5 controller. In my opinion, this thing looks absolutely amazing. This is already one of my favorite limited edition designs that they've done, and PlayStation is set to launch pre-orders on August 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, I think the best chance you're going to have to get this will probably be through their website, PlayStation Direct. It's going to go live there immediately, but they did note that it will be available at select retailers as well. Now, they aren't saying which retailers, but if you prefer places like Best Buy or Amazon, then yeah, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to go up there as well. If I were to guess, though, just because Astro Bot is a highly beloved franchise by this point, I think that this will be a pretty popular item. I think a lot of people are going to want this, much more than the recently announced Concord controller. To be fair, I think the controller looks fine, but not necessarily a beloved game. Far from it by this point. And something that we've seen from PlayStation is that when they do these limited edition controllers, they truly are limited. When the Spider-Man 2 controller sold out, and that was a very popular item, they didn't come back with more months later. So if there's even a small part of you that wants this Astro Bot controller, then my recommendation is to pre-order it and then decide later. All three of the websites that I just mentioned, PlayStation Direct, Best Buy, and Amazon, none of them charge until they ship your items. So that means that you can lock in your order and decide later if you still want it once it officially launches on September 6th, next to the game. Now, it is a little pricey, though. It comes in at $80, but if you like the design, absolutely go for it. Again, pre-orders will go live on August 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So maybe go ahead and set yourself a reminder. Okay, so let's go and shift gears here for a moment, because as sad as it may be, it is now truly the end of an era. The Xbox 360 store officially shut down today. And I mean, the Xbox 360 truly was an amazing console. I made a video for my top 15 best consoles just a few weeks back. Go check it out if you haven't already. I will leave a link at the end of the video. But spoiler alert, I placed the Xbox 360 at the #1 spot. I have a lot of memories tied into the Xbox 360 and the rise of online gaming with Xbox Live Gold. But that's the one thing about that generation. Digital games were also on the rise, and Xbox was a big part of that with things like Xbox Arcade. Now, thankfully, Xbox has done a pretty good job at bringing back a lot of the Xbox 360 library to their modern consoles with backwards compatibility. So they've at the very least limited the impact for the 360 store closure. But even then, there are still games that aren't available for the Xbox One and the Xbox Series, some of which are digital only. Now, that's very few games to be fair, but this is where I really love the emulation community. They are the true champions of preservation, and I'll just go and say Xbox 360 emulation has made a lot of progress. And even better here is that there is a very notable feature that emulation doesn't include. I can say firsthand for myself, I have multiple Xbox 360 consoles, none of which work today. They all unfortunately got sick and died from the Red Ring of Death. Rest in peace, little buddies. Give me a moment. Okay, I'm good now. But by this point, I feel like Xbox 360 emulation is a fairly good option. Now, there's also modded Xbox 360 consoles if you want to go in that direction. And that's what we've seen from the 3DS community this past year. Somehow, the death of the 3DS storefront only made that community stronger, ironically enough. But at the end of the day, even though it's officially the end of an era for the Xbox 360, Xbox, they don't want our money anymore for these games. But there are other avenues that you can take if you decide to. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Okay, so let's go and stay on topic of Xbox, but let's fast forward to the Xbox Series, and actually for their future consoles as well to a degree. Yeah, stay with me on this one, because what's happening here is that apparently Playground Games opened up a third studio. Yeah, apparently. You can see this on their LinkedIn profile, which reads, "Today, Playground has 3 world-class studios in Leamington Spa. In our original headquarters, we continue to support and grow the huge, vibrant Horizon community. In our new studios on the other side of town, we are excited to be developing Fable, a new beginning for the legendary franchise." Now, that is really interesting stuff, especially, I'd say, with their explanation. Basically, or at least how it kind of sounds here, is that Studio 2 and Studio 3 are both working on Fable. And that's something that I've not really seen from a lot of other studios. I mean, it is fairly common to have multiple studios for a single AAA project. Typically, you'll have your main studio, and then you'll have a support studio to kind of help out. That's to be expected in 2024 and beyond. But it almost sounds like Playground Games found a way to get a support studio and to still keep development in-house. That's actually really smart if you think about it, because it keeps everything streamlined, and they also have more direct control. For that matter, this is actually something that we've seen from Sony recently as well. One acquisition that Sony made that's gone, I'd say, a little bit under the radar is Valkyrie Entertainment. They bought them back in 2021, and that is a support studio that's helped them with games like God of War. Then they also founded Malaysia Studio in 2020, which is yet another support studio that's helped them out with games like The Last of Us Part 1. And then to a lesser degree, Sony also acquired Nixxes. Their entire job is to port games over to PC. So these support studios are becoming much more important for AAA games, and so much so that we're now seeing both Sony and what appears to be Xbox as well, they're both securing internal support studios. Now, it might not necessarily be flashy, but I'd say that these studios are still very important, and in this case, it could make for an even better Fable game when it eventually releases, hopefully sometime in 2025. If anything, I think that this is more proof that they are putting a lot of resources into that game. Now, with that said, there's going to be questions as to whether or not this third studio will work on their own project in the future, and they haven't explicitly said one way or the other. So there is a possibility that that could happen later down the road, but for right now, again, what we know here is that Microsoft has seriously invested a lot of resources into Playground Games. I think this just kind of tells you how important they see Playground Games. Forza Horizon has obviously been a huge hit for them. It's arguably one of the best racing games ever made. It's one of the best racing games that you can currently play, and they seem to have a lot of confidence in Fable as well. So big congrats to Playground Games, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. Moving on, though, I think by this point, virtual reality has not necessarily gone the way that Sony hoped that it would. Now, to be fair here, I don't think that they've given PSVR 2 enough support to merit a lot of success. I think a lot of their issues are actually self-inflicted, but even still, it's clear that the PSVR 2 has really struggled since its launch. And to address some of this, Sony is now trying some different things that will maybe spark some newfound interest. Of course, they have the PC adapter launching this August, which will make it the only headset that can play both PC and PlayStation 5 VR games. So if you want to play something like, let's say, Half-Life Alyx, and you also want to play Horizon Call of the Mountain, then the only headset that you can play both of those games on will be the PlayStation VR 2. That's a pretty good selling point, and to pair with that, they're also temporarily slashing the price for the PSVR 2 significantly. yeah, check this out. Till August 6th, you can get the PSVR 2 for $350, which is down $200 compared to its usual $550 price tag. Now, if you want to play PC VR games as well, of course, you're still going to need to shell out another $60 for the PC adapter. But I'd say overall, $410 for a good quality PC VR headset that can also play PlayStation 5 games, that's a pretty good deal, all things considered. I mean, just for comparison's sake here, the Valve Index plus its required base station is $650. So the PlayStation VR 2 with its discounted price plus the PC adapter is still significantly lower than that. And even though the PC adapter will, yes, strip away the PSVR 2 from some of its important features, from a technical standpoint, it's still a good quality headset at a good price tag. So this actually makes it a lot more enticing, but whether it's enough to move the amount of units that Sony wants it to, that part remains to be seen. And that's kind of the thing about the PlayStation VR 2. I think by this point, fans kind of see that there is a legitimate concern about PlayStation's future in the VR space. And there is a curiosity on just how much support they're going to give this device going forward. I mean, this entire situation really reminds me so much of the PlayStation Vita and how Sony handled that console. I mean, I was a big fan of the PlayStation Vita, but it really struggled, and PlayStation saw that and shifted its first-party support over to the PS4. That console really just relied a lot on third-party games, and I think that there's a good chance that the same thing will happen for the PlayStation VR 2 if they haven't already pulled first-party support. So my recommendation is that if you're on the fence for the PlayStation VR 2, if you're going to buy into it, do it with the mindset that you're satisfied with its current library and the library that you're going to get by using PC VR. I just wouldn't go in with the expectation that Sony is going to make a major push for VR titles in the future with their own first-party studios. I mean, if they do, that's fantastic, but I just wouldn't go in with that as my expectation, and that's all I'm trying to say here. Either way, though, $350 for this technology is a good price tag if you're interested. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, hit that subscribe button and peace out.